Ciao a tutti e bentornati sul canale. Oggi siamo qui con Rod Stirling, proprietario della Stirling Soap Company. Anche questa intervista sarà in inglese, evidentemente, ma non vi preoccupate, cliccate sulla rotellina e avrete i sottotitoli in italiano. So, hi Rod, how are you?
Doing fine, Pasquale. How are you doing?
I'm good. Just today I've been here at my parents' house working on the olive trees to get oil for next year. So, yeah. So let's dig in the interview, and I would like to ask you, how did you start in your journey into the wet shaving? Because we all know you produce great soaps, but we might not know how did you start it.
My wife had got me in 2011. She had bought me a wet shaving kit just from one of the few wet shaving websites there was back then. I had some friends that I was in the Army with when I was in my last tour in Iraq who shaved that way. I thought it looked neat. They told me that, it would probably help. I used to get really bad razor burn and razor bumps on my neck and jawline. You shave first thing in the morning and then you go out and do PT, go for a run, whatever it is. And it has a tendency to cause a lot of irritation. So she bought that for me. Within 3 weeks, I was shaving as fast as I could with a regular cartridge razor, and it had made a significant difference on the amount of irritation and the ingrown hairs and razor bumps I used to get on my neck. And so I've never looked back.
I see. And okay, so but then you started as a wet shaver, and this is mostly the way all of us start. I started for the same reason other than the cost of cartridge for a cartridge razor, but then you made a step forward and started to produce soap. How did it happen?
Well, on a trip to Scotland, it was our delayed honeymoon. We started talking about it and thought we might try our hand at raising sheep and using the fat from the sheep to make soap. When we got home from the trip, the idea really kind of still stuck, and right away we started buying materials and started doing test batches of bath soap to start with. We didn't actually start.
I'm losing you.
In late 2011, we started with the bath soap.
Okay.
And because I was a wet shaver at this time, the soap that I was getting, it was just a puck of, I forget what it was called, but it was from classicshaving.com. And I don't even know if they're still, I think they were bought out years ago. But I thought the soap was garbage. I thought I could make something better. So we started researching shaving soap formulas and started doing test batches, and it really just sort of took off from there.
I understand. So basically you started with bar soaps and then switched to shaving soaps. This is interesting that you use sheep tallow. Yeah, I mean, I heard the mutton tallow, cow tallow, of course, but I never heard about sheep tallow. But that's interesting.
It's the same as the mutton tallow. I mean, it's mutton tallow, lamb tallow, sheep tallow. That's all just different words for essentially the same thing.
Okay, I gotcha. And so what's the main idea behind Stirling? Because I've been watching I've been browsing your website, and I saw some poetry behind your company, which is how you started, and then pretty much everything, the color of your how do you say it? Boxes, yeah, soft boxes, and everything has been chosen following a main idea. Yeah, I would like to ask you which one is the idea.
It was the city of Stirling, Scotland. That's where we came up with the idea. We were actually on top of the William Wallace Monument in Stirling, looking down on the you see the Highlands from there, the town, Stirling Bridge, everything. The town was so green and so beautiful, and there were sheep everywhere being grazed in open fields outside of the town. And that's kind of where the idea came from. And when we were trying to come up with a name after we got home and started making the soap and realized that we wanted to actually try selling it, we went through, I don't know how many different names, and none of them really resonated. But when we realized, hey, Stirling was the inspiration for us doing this to begin with. So, why not just call it Stirling Soap?
Yeah, that's true. That's interesting. Now I will give you a difficult question, and the reason is that every time I browse Goodfellas, which is one of your importer in Europe, I basically need the map to understand all of your scents, and you have tons of scents. And to be honest, all of the scents that I tried, I loved it. I didn't find one that I didn't like. But I want to ask you, what are your 5 favorite scents?
That honestly, it changes seasonally. I like variety. I like trying out different things. If there's something I wear for too long, I start getting sick of it, but then I may put it away for a few months, and then I come back to it and I love it. But typically I gravitate towards the scents that are my own personal creation. We do a lot of stuff that are just, either 1-note essential oils or 2-note, or they're cologne dupes or something like that. And then we have a pretty good selection of scents that I created myself from scratch. And those are the ones that I typically gravitate toward, like Stirling Gentleman, Boat Drinks, Gatlinburg, especially for fall, Glastonbury, Varin, stuff like that, I put the work in to create. Right now on my countertop, I think I've got in a jar of Electric Sheep, Triumph, and Campania. Those are the 3 that I've been using most recently.
Yeah, Campania went sold out in a few days here in Italy, so
Yes.
must be a good scent. Yeah, I actually started with the Ozark Mountain, and the reason is that I was just starting with this idea of a YouTube channel, which for me is not a job, is a side activity that I just have fun with. And I started to experiment with different soaps, and I tested at the time Pino Alpestre from Goodfellas. So I wanted something that was similar, and I was really surprised when I opened the jar of Ozark Mountain, because I felt it was like being in the early morning during spring in the mountain, feeling the smell of the trees and stuff, and I loved it. And then after that, lately I bought Hipster, and what else? I don't even remember, but yeah, they will come out after this. I have a long beard, so tonight I will probably shave, and yeah, I will try one of those soaps. But yeah, I love your soaps because I love the lathering, and I love the post shave, the way that they leave your skin. So it's something I appreciate a lot. Most of my followers always say that you never get turned down by Stirling, and that's true in my opinion. But yeah. So tell me, well, my question is, what push you to create a new sense from scratch? So what is the poetry behind it? How do you start and you elaborate it?
Well, for some of them, like Gatlinburg and Glastonbury, Gin and Tonic, Texas on Fire, stuff like that, there are things that, customers have requested, or we kind of like with the Texas on Fire, especially. I mean, I put something up on my Facebook page, I want to say 8 years ago. Hey, let's, help me create a scent. What do you want? And we just go from there and add notes and things like that. But for Glastonbury and Gatlinburg, I had customers that had requested something. And I mean, I get requests all the time, and 90% of them I just can't do. It just either it's stuff that wouldn't sell well, or it's so far outside of my skill with blending essential oils and aroma chemicals that I wouldn't be able to do it. But sometimes I'll get a request, or hey, can you do something that smells like this? And I'll take that as a blueprint and run with it. And then sometimes, like with boat drinks, it's just I have an idea, or I'm craving something, and it's just like it becomes a singular focus, and I'll start working on it. And I mean, I've got a pretty good stable of essential oils here, and a pretty good amount of just individual aroma chemicals, as well as accords, just blended accords. And I'll get in there and I'll start working with them. And if I find something that I think, hey, this would have mass appeal, this will sell well for me, then we go ahead and start, testing, putting it into production. But
I understand
that a lot of times now I don't have nearly as much time as the business has grown. I find it harder and harder to find time to go off on my own and work on crafting new scents, because it takes a lot longer to do it than a lot of people realize. Because I mean anybody can go in there and throw some stuff together and say, ta-da, here's a new scent. But to get something that it's blended well and that conveys what you're trying to create with the scent, but also it doesn't matter how beautiful a scent you think it is. If the customer thinks it's garbage, then there's no point in trying to sell it. And I have had scents that we put out that customers absolutely hated. And there's some that I will never, ever, ever again make as long as I'm alive, no matter how many requests I get for them. So.
Yeah, but to be honest, if you don't have time to sit there and create new scents, basically you have so many scents that you can go on for more than 100 years without doing anything else, just producing the soap, and you'll be perfectly fine. Yeah.
So we probably have too many scents, but every time I take something off, or even make it seasonal, I just start getting email after email and phone call. Hey, when will this be back in stock? When are you going to make this again? So
yeah, but that's your trademark.
We continue to focus on.
That's your trademark.
It is.
Having a lot of sense.
If we were to cut it down, it is. If we were to cut it down to only carrying 10 cents at a time, I mean, it would probably sink us, just because we've become known for. We're probably going to have something that everyone's going to find something they can like. Yeah.
So I want to tell you that the first time I opened your jar, still Ozarkmartin, was incredible to the amount of scents that came out. You got to use a lot of essential oils and chemicals and whatever to make the scent so powerful, which is still your trademark. Is very powerful and is very perceivable in the aftershave after a few hours, which is something that a lot of people like. There are a lot of people that doesn't like to wear perfume. They just use the aftershave as a perfume, and that's perfectly doable with your creations. So yeah. So I believe that if you have to recommend me just one soap, just one, would be Gatlinburg or something like that.
Gatlinburg is another one that's kind of, with all the ones that are my personal creations, the cologne dupes usually are the easiest sells, just simply because they're familiar scents to people. They've smelled them at their local drugstore counter or whatever, Dillard's or at the mall. So, and they're known quantities. When you're trying to sell someone on something that's a totally new creation, you're just as likely to have someone that hates it as likes it. But if I had to tell someone to try one scent, I don't think I could. I don't think I could. I'd be wrong more often than I'd be right. And I think it goes back to the whole, the whole idea of carrying as many scents as we do. I mean, scent is so subjective. I mean, I can smell something that I say, oh, this is so light to me. Then you smell it like, oh, this is really strong. I love this. And someone else will say, oh, this is too strong. So, I mean, with scent being as subjective as it is, it's really hard to pin down anything and say, this is my recommended scent. But that's also the reason that we carry samples.
Yeah.
When you're buying stuff over the internet, it's hard, and I know you can't get them in the EU and in Italy right now. It's just cost prohibitive for them to be able to import samples at the moment. Yeah. But for my customers here in the United States, we offer the shave soap samples and the aftershave samples so they can try the smaller amount, make sure that they actually enjoy the scent before buying a full jar or a full bottle of something.
Yeah, that makes sense. I actually bought also, and I didn't have time to test it yet, but I have it on my countertop. I've been having it on my countertop for like 3 months already. The creation you did especially for Goodfellas Gold Club. And I also bought the aftershave splash and the aftershave balm. So I'm telling you, I didn't have time to test it yet. I will, I promise I will. But I would like to know what is the main difference between the splashes and balms, even in terms of persistence of the scent on your skin.
The balm has a much lower percentage of fragrance in it, just simply because it's an emulsion and it's going to stay in your skin. Whereas the aftershave, 60% of the formula is alcohol, or 200 proof perfumer's ethanol. So you pat that on, and the ethanol and it's going to evaporate really quickly, and some of the other stuff in there is absorbed into your skin. But with emulsions, you don't want to have them as strongly scented, just because there's so many different skin types, and so many different people can have sensitivities to different fragrances or essential oils. And you put that emulsion on and rub it into your skin, and if the fragrance is too high, if the percentage of fragrance is in there too high, you can cause some serious irritation and redness, or even worse, skin irritation for someone. And that's with all our stuff, with the soaps, the balms, the aftershave splashes, we do our best to make sure that if the manufacturer of a certain aroma chemical or essential oil says this is the highest percentage, you need to have it in soap or in a balm or in a lotion or anything else, we make sure that we're not going over that, just simply because I want to avoid causing any skin issues for our customers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so maybe I will put the balm first, just to moisture the skin, and then the splash to have the scent on my face for.
Always do the balm last.
Oh, really?
Always do the after. Yeah. So if you put the balm on first and then you put the alcohol-based aftershave on, you're going to be negating a lot of the effects.
Oh, okay.
So you want to put the aftershave splash on first, tap that in, and then wait a few seconds, allow it to be absorbed or evaporate, and then you come over the top with the balm. I mean, adding the balm is just going to add to the scent. It's not going to take away from the scent of the aftershave.
Yeah, I understand. I will just moisture more my skin. Yeah, that's
Yes.
interesting. So, yeah, you have a strength in your sense that is pretty high. Is something that you decided to have, or it just came up like that, and then you went on with that?
We didn't always. We used to, when the first few years we were in business, the scents were a lot lighter, but we just, based on customer feedback, more often than not, customers prefer a scent that's a little stronger. And some of our scents are just characteristically light, like Executive Man. By percentage, it's our strongest scent. But
Okay.
because it's a characteristically light scent, it doesn't come out. And we have a lot of people that say, well, this is too light, or it just smells like soap, or I can't smell it at all. But that's just the nature of that scent. So, over the years, most of our scents, we've tried to get as close to the manufacturer's recommended percentage in all of our products, without going over. And I said, it's all based on customer feedback. A lot of people they're used to store-bought things like Axe or Old Spice body washes and things like that are just packed full of fragrance, and you can completely smell them. So if you don't have a strongly scented product, a lot of times it's gonna get left behind by a good portion of your customer base.
Okay, I understand. So I saw that on your website that you produce other products like bar soaps and then coffee, which I understand that importing the American coffee in Italy might sound awful because we are used to espresso shots, but
Yes.
yeah, I mean, why are all these products not available in Italy? And I'm referring most at the bar soaps.
The problem with the bar soaps is we don't charge enough for them. Like,
Okay.
if we were charging in the $7 to $8 range, like soap companies like Dr. Squatch or Buchanan or other, of the mainstream, real bar soap companies, we could do that, but we don't charge enough for the soaps to make it worth it. It's a lot of bureaucratic red tape and a lot of money to get products certified for sale by, for EU cosmetics certification. So to do that for the bath soaps, and then to pay the cost of shipping them by boat over to Italy,
worth.
You would be paying 10 euros for a bar of soap, which is just silly.
Yeah. That's true. Was it difficult to obtain all the certification and stuff to import in Europe? I guess so.
Yes, it took us years, and then honestly, what finally got us over that, we tried for 4 years on our own, and what finally got us over the hump was our friends there in Italy at Barbieri Unity. They're fantastic people to work with us, and they've been wonderful partners for us. And they helped guide us through the entire process. And we're still going through it with a lot of stuff, but they have a lot of expertise in that, and they've been able to help guide us and make the process a lot smoother than trying to do it on our own from over here in the United States, conversing back and forth with one of the testing companies.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Europe is really strict and difficult with the bureaucracy and stuff like that. I mean, I've been living in the States, and I know how easier are stuff in the States compared to Europe. In fact, most of my friends, they come from the States, they come to Italy, they love it. But then after a couple of weeks, they say, I want to go back home because I don't want to fight with all this government issue and stuff that you guys have, which we are used to deal with. But yeah. So what else? So you produce software, which is the soap and the aftershave. What is your personal favorite hardware for shaving? And I'm talking about brushes and razors.
I really don't have a favorite brush. I kind of rotate through. I mean, I've got a handful of synthetics, a handful of really nice finest and silver tip, high mountain white badgers. And I have one bore brush left, and it's just one of our Stirling bores. And there's days I like the scrubbiness of the bore. There's days I like the ease of using a synthetic. And then there's the days I like the luxury of a badger. My favorite piece of hardware though is our Stirling stainless razor. We designed it for me. I typically do one pass shaving or two at most. Like today, I've not shaved in 3 days now, so I've got a little bit of growth. So I would probably do 2 passes, but most, if I'm shaving day after day, I do 1 pass and then maybe a few touch-ups. And the Stirling razor it's so aggressive. I don't know that there are very many, if any, razors that are more aggressive on the market that, I can go through and 1 pass and I'm done.
Okay.
It's got a big enough blade gap that even this right here, I could get away with doing 1 pass because the blade gap is big enough that the whiskers won't get bound up in there.
Okay, so you need to get this razor available in Italy too, well, in Europe.
I need to get a CNC machine so I can have more machined. They were really, really expensive to make. That's the main problem with them.
Mm-hmm. I understand. What about blades? What is your favorite blade? I love Persona, but it's very personal.
I like feathers most of the time.
Feather. So you use an aggressive razor with feather. That's interesting.
Yes.
You gotta have a technique that might be interesting to see on YouTube. I believe that everybody.
I need to do another shaving video. Yeah. It's the problem with that is you have to know every bump on your face. Yep. And you have to have a very deft hand. You have to have some serious, coordination to be able to do it, because with that much of a blade gap and the positive blade exposure and a super sharp blade, if you've got a blemish or something like there, you'll slice it right off.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand. So my very last question, and then I will give you the floor to give us heads up or whatever you want. But my very last question is, how is your penetration in the European market? Because, for the Italian, it's pretty clear. We know where to find your soap, but maybe there are other European followers that would like to know where to find them, and
So I don't actually have the list, just because of privacy issues. I still don't, unless they tag me on Instagram or Facebook or something like that. A lot of the stores that carry us in Europe, I don't even know that they carry us, just because we have a single point of contact for all the import to the EU, and then they handle dispersing it out from Italy.
Oh. So I believe that Barbieri Uniti is your entry point.
Yes. So for anyone, and this is what if somebody from Germany or Netherlands or wherever else contacts me and say, hey, where in Germany can I find your stuff? I point them towards Barbieri Uniti and say, please reach out to them, and they will be able to give you a current list of who actually has Stirling products in your country, so that you can find them. Because I'm not dealing with those companies directly. I can't give out their information.
Okay, so I will rephrase the question. Do you ship enough pallets of soaps to Barbieri Uniti to cover all Europe, or not?
Yes, well, we're working on it. I wish I could pick up the computer. I've got 11 pallets next door to us right now that should be hopefully leaving here within the next 5 or 6 days on a boat to Italy to replenish their supply. And one thing I would say, to anyone watching this, if there's a product that they don't carry, like the eau de toilettes or beard balms, beard oils, please reach out to them and let them know that you'd like them to bring those into Europe. Okay. Because I mean, like I said, the process, it's a pain in the rear, and it's expensive. So, for them to take the risk of buying enough to make it worthwhile to send it on a pallet on a boat, they have to know that there are enough customers in Europe that are going to want these products. Mm-hmm. So the more people that reach out to them and say, hey, I don't shave as much anymore, can you get the beard oils and beard balms? Or, hey, on days I don't like shave, I'd like to smell like Mountain Man, can you get the eau de toilettes? Things like that we can get certified then and bring on. It'll just increase the amount of product that we can put in the market in the European Union.
Yeah, of course, because the eau de toilette cannot be shipped via air, of course, because of the regulation. I didn't even know that you guys produce eau de toilette, but that's interesting because if your shave soaps and aftershave scent is so strong that can be smelled after a few hours, I'm really interested in understanding what about your eau de toilette. Must be very interesting, in my opinion.
The majority of our eau de toilettes will typically have in the range of 2 to 3 times the amount of fragrance percentage-wise. As granted, if you're only putting 1 or 2 spritzes on, and a lot of it depends on skin chemistry and do you layer it on your clothes and things like that. But the overwhelming majority of them will give you a much better projection and longevity than the aftershaves.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, Rod, unless you want to tell us anything else. Oh, you changed your cup.
Coffee, water.
Oh, okay. Beer. Yeah, but beer is late enough.
Yeah, it's late enough there.
Yeah. So unless there is anything else that you wanna spoil to my follower or anything else, then I believe we are done. So here, the floor is yours.
So in the coming year, I'm hoping to have more candles, solid colognes, conditioner bars. We've almost got the face masks ready for market. But we're doing our best to expand, because right now, and I'm sure you're experiencing a lot of the same issues, that there's a lot of than previous.
Sorry, you just broke out because of the internet connection. You are experiencing and then you broke out. So
we're experiencing a lot of supply shortages, but we're also experiencing a lot of what is available is a lot more expensive. So I don't make as much on a lot of products anymore. So what we're trying to do to combat that is we're expanding the available amount of products that we do have. So, if you come to me for shave soap, bath soap, aftershave, whatever it may be, but you're going to another store for, other products, we're trying to bring those products on so that, we can become more of a one-stop shop for anything, bath and body that you might need. Okay,
it makes sense.
I do want to say thanks to everyone, and not just in Italy, but in the EU for supporting us so well over the years. I mean, the EU certification would not have taken place had there not been, such a demand for it. So I am eternally grateful for everyone over there who has done business with us.
Yeah, we are actually happy that you did all the certification and we can use your product. So it's a mutual thank you. So Rod, has been a real pleasure to have you here on my channel. And let me switch in Italian for a second. Allora ragazzi, se vi è piaciuto il video come sempre, vi chiedo un bel mi piace, iscrivetevi al canale e attivate la campanella di notifica per non perdervi ulteriori video. Adesso salutiamo Rod. Ok Rod, thank you very much. Thank you, was a real pleasure to have you here.
Pleasure's all mine, Pasquale. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, anytime.